Welcome to Stout Conversations, where every week we sit down with creative thinkers in the craft beer industry and beyond. Your hosts, Ken and April, live and work in a 24-foot RV, traveling the country in search of great stories around a great beer. This week, they talked with Jay, co-owner of Soul Squared, a farm brewery just outside of Fort Collins in Wellington, Colorado. Why make the trek north when Fort Collins is full of great breweries? Simple. Jay and his team make damn good beer using farm-raised ingredients and community values. They have put their heart and soul into their brewery, including starting one of the first community-supported agricultural beer clubs.
So we are in Wellington, Colorado. Technically, we're in Fort Collins, right?
We're in Fort Collins right now.
We're on the farm, which is actually the brewery at Soul Squared.
Right.
And that right there, in and of itself. First, Soul Squared, the name. Where did that come from?
So it really came out of my buddy Aaron and I, who we started the brewery. Started working on it in, probably summer of 2013.
Okay.
Started putting stuff together, and we started with nothing. Everything in the brewery, almost everything, we put together ourselves. So between the woodworking and welding, equipment, building the actual structures, stuff like that. So we did it with our
so
heart
you
and souls.
The farm. Well, yeah. Aaron had the farm, right? It's his family.
Yep.
That has owned the farm.
Yeah. Shortly after he bought this place. It hadn't been really a working farm in a long time, and probably 20 or so years. So it was overgrown. It needed a ton of work. So he started cleaning stuff up and got it looking really good. And I had been looking at putting together a brewery actually in Fort Collins in downtown, and had some people on board with that, and stuff fell through.
Right.
So it was kind of like back up and reassess and see what we're doing. So proposed to Aaron, like, hey, what do you think about doing like a cool little small brewery up on the farm? And at the time, we saw...
Yeah, I bought a farm, so let's turn it into a brewery.
Yeah. Which
sounds a little crazy.
In hindsight, it totally makes sense, because historically, you look at, Europe, and there's all these farms, and everybody in America, if they wanted beer in 1800s, it was brewed on, locally, usually on the property. So it really wasn't that much of a stretch.
It's kind of weird how we're rediscovering that now. Like, there's not a ton of farm breweries across the United States, but the few that there are seem to really stand, like Jester King, and Hill Farmstead,
and those were the guys
really making waves.
And those were really the guys who were we're noticing that. Like, Aaron and I both grew up on the East Coast, upstate New York, close to Vermont, and so we were familiar with Hill Farmstead and all the beer coming out of that area, and of course Jester King. So that was one of the things. Was like, this is kind of like a resurgence, like it's kind of really cool. Like, people are bringing farm breweries back, and so did it. Started off really, really, really small. But again, just
one barrel
system. Yeah, and our heart and souls. So that's where the name comes from. But shortly after we opened, some friends of ours from Belgium stopped by. They actually just lived down the road, and they stopped by and they said, "Hey, we used to own a brewery in Belgium.
Really?
And it was off the bike path. It was really small like this. And it's super cool." And so they would stop by on their bike rides once in a while if we were around and have a beer. And
that's gotta feel good.
It was awesome.
Because Belgium, Germany, those are like the holy land of beer, right? And the monks, and that's where this started at least hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely, if not more. Yeah. So it was cool.
Here in this baby of a country in the United States, really.
Yeah, and it's kind of a funny thing. Like, those same friends of ours, of course, know lots of brewers in Belgium, and they brought some friends who were visiting from Belgium.
Wow.
They own a farm brewery in Belgium, and so they were visiting the States and going around visiting brewers, and they came up here and they're like, "Wow, this is super cool." Wow. So they offered up, like, "Hey, you guys want to trade? You want to use our yeast to make a beer and do all this stuff?" So,
from Belgium.
From Belgium. So we do some sort of collaboration.
And that's like liquid gold. That's the gold of brewing.
Yeah, and they do everything. They actually grow all their own barley, all their own hops.
Wow.
The yeast that they use are they're harvested off of the property. So their water comes from well. So they're 100%. Everything they do is from their property, which is super cool.
That's crazy. Is that something you guys aspire to do here? Because I know you do a decent amount, right? You source a lot of ingredients off your farm and from other local... Yeah. Because for the people that don't know, Wellington's kind of a little bit outside of Fort Collins, which isn't a huge... Fort Collins isn't huge. Right. Wellington's a little smaller, and we're out in the rural area, so...
My wife went to CU, and she used to joke that when they would come up for football games, it was like, going way up in the sticks up to Fort Collins and hanging out with the hicks up there. Yeah, it's where this is a huge agriculture area, so, if we can't grow it here, we try to source stuff from local farms, and we really do a lot. Our beet saison, Mary and Aaron grow the beets here on the farm, and Mary spent I don't know how many hours juicing the beets. And now we have this awesome juice beet concentrate that we use to add to our saison. We do our beet saison. Aaron put in 300 or 400 hot plants around the property. So at least once a year do a fresh hop beer when those hops come in. And various other things,
I think I've seen you guys have sourced honey off your property here.
Honey, right? They keep bees. Yep. So we've got honey from the property, from their hives. Several local farms where we've got roasted chilies, or we did an acorn squash beer last fall instead of doing a pumpkin beer.
That one got a lot of attention.
Certainly those are like labors of love. There's so much time that goes into processing that stuff, but you can't buy something. You can't get a can of local caramelized squash. It's just like
brewing in general is kind of a labor of love.
Well, we're not doing it to get rich. That's for sure. People think you do it to get rich for this stuff.
No. But it is a lot of fun. Yeah. And you meet a lot of great people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great community around this. And you guys have a beer club that you call a CSA beer club, right?
Right. Yeah, community supported agriculture, which the model is basically small local farms who don't have a ton of operating capital. They get a bunch of people together to basically buy shares of whatever it is up front.
Okay, so they're not contracted out to some big corporation. No, they're a community farm.
Yep. So, you're like, hey, I'm gonna plant whatever vegetable it is this year, and you get 50 people together that pony up, $50 each.
Right.
It pays for all of your, your seed and your everything to get that crop up and running and harvested. And then when the harvest comes out, it's split between the people that paid the money in.
Okay.
So it's a great model for small, producers, because it's money up front. Instead of putting in, X amount of cash and letting it sit literally in the ground for months, which is killer for a small business. You can't.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with that capital.
It really is. So we took that model, and being on a farm, we're like, hey, let's try out the CSA thing with beer. And so basically, what we did right from the start is we've always bottled. We didn't have a tap room until recently, so we have always been putting beer out into the market, which as a small brewery it's backwards and it's difficult, and
especially
I don't know if I recommend it to anybody, but
in Colorado we've had taproom sales for years and years and years. It's been a way that breweries really it's a great business model for breweries, because you can get your head above water pretty quickly, but you started the opposite way.
I totally did the opposite way.
You jumped in the deep end of the pool.
Absolutely. Hindsight, but anyway.
So it's kind of not exactly, but kind of similar to a crowdfunding kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is.
But people buy shares
and so
into your club and get different benefits depending on where they want to be.
Exactly.
Level of club
exactly. And our twist on that was, nobody's going to give us money and be like, hey, we're going to make some beer and you're going to get some of it in 2 months. That wasn't going to work. So I don't know.
I'm one of those guys. Here, take money.
We'll talk later.
Especially now that we've tasted the beer, it's I easily
trust us. Well, but starting out, nobody knew us, and nobody.
Right. There was probably a lot of friends.
There was a lot of friends and family that were the people that bought in originally. But our thing is that we still haven't done this, and we're on our CSA brew, close to 50 now. So
wow, nice.
We've done 50 different beers. We haven't repeated one of those.
Because you started 2015.
Okay. So we started selling beer spring of 2015. So between now and then, we put out a new CSA beer every month, a different beer every month, and they've always been different. And we try to get seasonal ones. We play out the seasons.
Oh yeah.
Of course, our February one is chocolate cherry stout.
That's pretty big.
It's fun, right? Right. But yeah, fresh hop in the fall when the harvest comes in and stuff like that.
We're drinking maple porter right now.
This is maple porter from last month.
Really good, really good.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want that maple to like bowl you over and feel like you're in a shower of maple, it's not quite there. It's not quite there because this is a good balanced beer, which is much better. And that's my palate. Sorry for the extreme.
I've never taken a shower of maple syrup. I don't know.
Okay. I
got my wife on camera. This could go a lot of different directions right now.
No maple in the long hair.
No, we're not going to.
But I'll drink it.
Yeah.
She will drink it. Yes.
And I'll take his beer.
Yeah.
What?
No, I have my own.
Oh yeah.
That's what we strive for with our beers is keeping stuff balanced. Going back to the CSA thing, people want to know. Our feedback has been, it's cool that you do 6-month rotation. So every 6 months, we're like, hey, here's the beers that are coming out in the next 6 months.
Okay.
So people have a heads up.
People know
what
ahead
they are.
of time what they're buying into.
Yep. And they can buy in at different levels. They can get a full share as a case of bombers a month, so 12 bombers a month. Which, if you do the math, is only like 8 ounces a day or something, which people are like, I don't know how I'm going to drink that much beer. Like, 8 ounces a day?
So if you broke down the bombers, what's the kind of price point for a bomber when people are buying into the shares?
They average out to be about $7 a piece.
Which, in the bomber world, that is like nothing.
I know.
I mean, it's hard to find a bomber for $7 in any liquor store.
Yeah. And some of them are barrel aged, some of them are big stouts, some of them are like double IPAs. They're like really expensive beers, and so it's awesome value.
But these are ones they get first crack at before you ever even put it in your tap room, or
yes.
Now you have a tap room in Wellington.
No, it's a tap room, and we would do the same thing when people used to pick up CSAs here. We'd fill up a 6-stall, and we'd have that 6-stall on tap, so people could have when they came to pick up their beer, they could taste it.
Right, because before you had a tap room, people came out here to the farm to pick it up, like once a week to pick up, or once a month.
One Saturday a month. It was
so it was a pretty exclusive little club.
It really was,
cool.
Yeah. It was super cool, and it was really. It still is fun. We still have a lot of the same CSA people. I think we're up to like 75 or so people that do it now.
So you guys are talking about like dollar amounts, but that community that you're building is
it's priceless. Not the dollar amounts.
No.
It's
and that's what the whole thing is with craft brewing is that community.
And it still is. People that have been in it from the start, they only see those people once a month for an hour or two, but.
Yeah.
Over the last few years, they're like, hey, they catch up, they have a beer, and they pick up their beer, and
I mean, even before you were brewing out here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you kind of like built your name a little bit on being a home brewer who brewed with a few big boys.
Yeah.
Before you even got into running your own business as a craft brewer, I mean, you brewed with
really what got
the likes of like Odell's and Verboten. And
Odell.
Verboten's not huge, but they're another great Colorado brewer.
Yeah.
Odell's and
New Belgium.
And New Belgium. Yeah, New Belgium. That's about as big as you can get without going macro.
So, and that's the kind of thing that kind of like pushed me on this path. Was man, you gotta open a brewery. I'm like, well, cool.
Yeah, if you can brew with those
guys.
Write
me a check, dude. I'm like,
happy
to do
it. Write me a check.
But so homebrewed for a lot of years, and being a typical beer nerd, got into judging beers and entering beers in comps, and so went through the whole BJCP training, the beer judge certification program. So got a couple different levels of certification for judging, and it's super fun. Back before this,
right?
And so one of the things that a lot of the breweries do around here, which is really cool, is they do like a pro-am where breweries go to a local comp and they pick a beer, usually one of the top, winning beers, maybe best in class or something like that, and they brew it on their system.
Right.
And so we've done that a few times here.
So you do it now with
we do it now,
and stuff,
yeah,
which is really cool. Kind of a pay it back.
Yeah, totally. So the one I brewed, awesome. The first one, the big one that I did was with New Belgium. They had picked a Belgian blonde ale. It's now called Fourth Row Blonde Ale, which if you look at the label on it, it's if you play disc golf, you'll get the pun on that. But it's also in a field, and the basket's on the fourth row. So.
Okay.
Go buy a 6-pack.
I'm gonna have to learn. I'm gonna have to learn.
But yeah, so that beer is really the one that I homebrewed back in the day. New Belgium picked that. We brewed it before New Belgium had their pilot system. So we brewed it on the giant, like, I forget how many. It was like basically about 100 barrels worth of beer.
Oh my god!
You know, like a couple hundred kegs worth of beer.
Hundreds of thousands of gallons of beer. If you don't,
I don't know if I've still like handled as much hops. I have, but like at the time being a home brewer and saw the amount of hops.
Are you just dumping like trash barrels full of hops into them?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Never hit that level. I would love to see
awesome.
what that smells like. I would like to just dive into that barrel.
Yeah.
That's what you shower in.
That's what
hops,
bathe in hops. Just fill a tub, dump it full of hops, and jump in. But that'd be incredible.
So that was awesome. So that went down to GABF that year, and it won a gold medal that year.
That's gonna feel pretty good.
Which is pretty awesome. Like I have a gold medal from GABF hanging up in my garage, which is really cool.
Not too many people can say that.
No, it's awesome. Brewed with Odell. We did a session IPA when session IPAs were first coming out, and that was specifically brewed for our local food. Like downtown Fort Collins had like a taste of Fort Collins, basically. You know, where a bunch of restaurants came in and did samples, and they had beer pairings with it and stuff like that. So we brewed that with that, and it was super fun. Odell, the guys over at Odell are awesome. We still bum ingredients off of Odell.
I think that's kind of common. I mean, a lot of smaller brewers that we've talked to lately kind of piggyback with some of the bigger regional brewers like Odell's, Oscar Blues, Left Hand. A lot of those guys are getting very big. Like especially if you think of Oscar Blues, they're like getting really big nationwide. Yeah. And they're partnering up with a lot of other big brewers like Cigar City and all these people across the country. Yeah. But they're still putting a hand out and saying, "Hey, we're not going up here. We're still buddies."
Yeah. Well, they've been there.
Yeah,
they started
made their way there, and they're helping, with hop buys and things like that. Where it gets really tough to buy the hops sometimes that you want.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Guys like that have a little bit of purchasing power.
They do, and especially
they can help you out when you get into doing it.
Gosh, it's crazy. Like you get into like the contracting of hops, where you have to commit to X amount. And it's not like, 50 pounds of hops. It's like, I'm going to use, 800 or 1,000 pounds of this hop this year. And if you don't use it, you're going to eat it.
Yeah.
So small brewers, you're kind of hesitant to do that because
that's a big commitment.
You just can't
Hops are not cheap.
Not at all. And so, I can sometimes piggyback off of stuff like that. Or even if you're just like, I'm short 5 pounds for this brew. Shoot out an email and or a text and like, hey, come on over, grab it. We got
for them. That's we can.
Bring
you back, Jack.
Bring him a 6-pack and.
So all of this, the whole time you do all this stuff, you get the brewery off the ground. You've been home brewing. You've been with big brewers. You're still a full-time teacher.
Yeah,
right?
I teach full-time. I teach.
You run a brewery on a farm. You have a tap room. This is doing pretty well, it looks like.
Tap room's awesome.
We just came from the tap room. It was really nice and it was pretty full. And you're still a full-time high school English teacher?
Yeah, I teach British Lit and AP Lit, so I teach juniors and seniors, which is it's fun. We were just talking about that earlier. It's
like the most rewarding and the hardest job probably ever. I don't know. Brewing is pretty up there too.
It is. It's different. It's different.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. It's different.
Seriously, I come out like AP sometimes. It's like a college level literature class, and those kids are on it, man. They're super psyched to be there, and
they inspire you. I think
they really do, and I all the time like I don't know, let's figure it out. I don't know. They ask questions, or it's actually I'm supposed to be the expert, but I don't know. And
but you admitting that is what makes you the expert.
Yeah, right. I'm like, let's go figure it out.
Those are some of the best teachers.
But that's the same thing in the craft beer industry.
I
don't know everything.
I was just going to say that.
And so you use your resources just like you teach your students to use your resources.
Right, because you can learn X amount of malt, X amount of hops equal this, whatever. But it's the people that say, you know what, screw that. We're just going to go for broke and do what we want to do.
Yeah. And anybody that's ever homebrewed, it's not just following a recipe. There's a lot of different things that go into it. So teaching's the same way. You just you can't just follow that formula, which we could do a whole another 4-hour talk about education.
We could. Absolutely.
Yeah. But the brewery, yeah. So I still teach full time, AP Lit and British Lit. Aaron runs an excavation business, and he works, I don't know, 2 full-time jobs with that, with his excavation business.
So basically, Aaron's wife Mary runs this thing.
Yeah.
She's the one that works the brewery all the time.
I mean,
and has you guys multiple job titles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She from sales to doing the books to everything that you just saw over the tap room, all of the decor and all the cool events that are going on. It's all Mary doing that.
But just like any kind of entrepreneurship, like you're doing everything, and you're kind of an half-assed expert in everything.
You have to learn it. You're forced to learn it, really. But we just hired on a new brewery. Justin, he's awesome. He's killing it. So here's the conversation. It's like, here's somebody who's been through school for brewing. He was a great brewer. He's young. He's ambitious. He's super smart. He's got great ideas. Or me. Like, let's pay him to do what he does really well, and I'll continue to fix pumps or weld stuff up when it breaks.
It's got to be tough to weigh that stuff, because I can tell, you're very passionate about teaching too.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
yeah.
But then again, who says you can't maybe go to be a full-time running your brewery and a part-time teacher?
My wife.
Your wife. Okay. Yeah. I would think that. And you listen to that
one. And the wife rules me.
No. No, that's not true. My wife is more than supportive.
I love it.
More than is reasonable.
But let's just say you give a lot of credence to her opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My wife is not here working, doing stuff. But we wouldn't be here if she wasn't doing what she's doing.
Right.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Picking up my slack.
Yeah.
Which frees me up. And it's like that for everybody involved and every brewery, really. You know?
It's community on all levels, including the family level,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Which is cool. My boys have been grinding grain since they could walk.
Yeah.
My son Isaac used to, when he was he wouldn't drink it. But, when he was probably 3 or 4 years old, everything he picked up, he'd go, every drink. Sometimes he'd be like, man, that's pretty hoppy. But it was orange juice. It was water. It was.
That's funny.
But you're brewing a brewer.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
There you go.
God, I hope not.
When we kind of wind down our conversations, we usually, our brand is living a stout life.
Yeah.
And living a stout life is about more than beer. It's about doing some cool things in life, and it means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. So what we do like to ask is, to you, Jay, what is your kind of vision of living a stout life? But yeah.
We went skiing this weekend. It was super fun. It's hard to get away for, very long with having a family and everything going on.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
family,
that.
a business, and a job. And
so we got away, had a couple days of skiing this weekend, and we got done skiing. We were at A Basin yesterday, and hanging out with some friends who, I see a couple times a year. We were having a beer in the parking lot, and my 2 buddies that we were there with, their sons, lifts were closed. Their sons were over, still playing on the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, over on Molly
and
sledding down the hill.
Yeah, well, one of them was skiing, one was snowboarding. They're hiking up a little ways and coming down. They come down with a shovel. They build a jump. And I'm like to my buddy Troy. I'm like, what the heck are they doing up there? And we eye on me like, that's not good. They got a shovel. I'm like, Troy's like, they're having fun. Like, if you're not having fun, what's the point? Which is, there's a lot of, I think, merit in that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Life's pretty short. If you're not having fun,
what's the point?
I mean, you got to work.
Yeah.
But work can be rewarding too. Work can be fun. Not always fun. It's sort of like a marriage.
Nothing's
right?
always fun. Yeah.
Anything worth having is not easy.
Nothing's fun 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But in the long run, when you step back and look at it, living a stout life, if it's not fun in the long run, it's not rewarding. Go do something else.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
With that, I'm going to bring our off-camera
I have to join the toast.
lady in.
And cheers.
And with that
was a brilliant answer. I love
cheers.
that one. Cheers. It was really good.
That's good.
There are new episodes with new conversations every Sunday night. Be sure to subscribe and click the little gray bell so you don't miss out. We'd love to hear from you, so please leave us a comment below. Not only will this help us get found on the search engines, but it will also help us create a better experience for you, our viewers.
We're hoping to become the Jackie Chan of beer blogs. That's the Great American Brew Festival, which is...
Beer Festival?
What did I say?
Brew?
Same thing. Beer, brew.
Great American Beer Festival, yep.